Oh my gosh, coming up on our next episode of Finding Better is one of the best episodes I've ever done. Craig Meriwether is joining me, and we're talking about hypnotherapy. But not only hypnotherapy, but we're unwinding all the kinds of things that have happened in our lives that we fed our brains with. He's got a program called Ace Any Test. And let's face it, when we're dealing with tests, we're dealing with anxiety, we're dealing with fear. And he talks about unwinding the things that cause that so that you can bring down that level of stress and anxiety. And guess what? Life is a test. Life is a series of tests, right? And what he says is that we're not broken. It's just that our brain needs to be rewired. And we also go through several exercises that you can do while we're talking that will help you calm down. It's amazing. It's amazing. An amazing conversation that you're going to want to share with lots of people. I'm not going to go on and on about it because we've got an episode coming up right now. Here we go. Hello, 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 and welcome back to our Finding Better podcast. My name is John Suzuki, and I am your host. And this is where we share real life experiences and wisdom of people who have been there and done that. Because, I honestly believe that sometimes the best path to success is to follow in the footsteps of people who have been there and done that. And so we're going to have a lot of fun today. My guest today is Craig Meriwether. And this is going to be a really interesting conversation. We're going to talk about hypnotherapy, right? And as you know, our podcast is all about finding better and living a better life and learning from other people in terms of what their experiences have been, where they've come from, what they've done to live a better life. I've never had a hypnotherapist on Finding Better, and I know that the stuff works. So let me just give you a little bit about Craig before we get going. All right, Craig?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Go for it.
All right. So Craig is a certified clinical hypnotherapist. He's a medical hypnosis specialist, a neuro-linguistic programming specialist, and he's the founder of the Arizona Integrative Hypnotherapy. Okay, let me say that again. He's the
Yeah, you
founder of
got it.
Arizona Integrative.
Integrative hypnotherapy. Yeah, it's a
Thank
mouthful.
you.
I'm not
Thank
good
you.
at business names.
And the whole idea is helping people eliminate the negative emotions and limiting beliefs that may be keeping them from reaching their full potential. Folks, he's helped just some examples of students, helping students conquer exam nerves and boost performance, veterans managing PTSD, business people and entrepreneurials managing confidence, right? Athletes accessing peak states, professionals overcoming public speaking fears. I mean, everybody has something in here that we can relate to.
Mm.
Craig, welcome to Finding Better. Thank you for joining
Oh,
us.
thank you, John. I appreciate you inviting me on your show. I've been looking forward to this for a while now. And yeah, hypnotherapy is an extraordinary modality. And you listed off a number of different kind of things that people struggle with.
Right,
And it's not that hypnotherapy is a cure-all and this technique will cure everything. It's that
right.
this technique will help you fix your own problems, if that makes sense. Because what
Absolutely.
hypnotherapy helps you do is tap into the power of your own subconscious mind. So let's start with test anxiety, as I think a lot of people can relate to that, whether it was back
Yep.
in high school or college or maybe a job interview or giving a public speaking sort of form of a test.
Or or even a business meeting.
Or a business meeting, yeah, yeah.
Every
If you're
business
looking
meeting is a
for,
test. Yeah, there's
yeah,
a
if you're
test in
looking
there
for
somewhere. Yeah.
financing, you're
Yeah.
looking for financing. If you're interviewing somebody, these nerves may come up. Now, you weren't born. So okay, let's go. With test anxiety, you weren't born with test anxiety. Somewhere along the line, you had to learn that, and then train
Ah,
yourself to get to the point where maybe by high school or getting into university, it's becoming a serious, serious problem. Sort of like getting your black belt in Taekwondo. You just don't hand you a black belt on your first day of Taekwondo class. You have to earn that by training and
absolutely.
training your muscles, training your body to react in a certain way when somebody throws a punch. Well, same with tests. Somewhere. maybe back in elementary school or something, a test didn't go well. And unfortunately, at least in the seemingly American system of education, you get punished if you don't do well on a test. To the point where maybe you have to take summer school or take extra homework home or
Right.
repeat a grade or something. And so we learn to fear tests because we may have a very negative result because of it. Because our
Hmm.
A plus grade average goes down to a B or something, and then that affects your
Oh,
college,
God forbid.
all
Yep.
that stuff, on and on and on. And so through our educational years, again, at least in America, uh, we can train ourselves to be afraid of tests. Well, that really didn't come from the outside world, other than, someone didn't hand you this fear. You created it within yourself. And
Okay.
it's not to say it was your fault. It's not to say it should have happened, not to say it's fair that that happened, but you're the one who did it. You're the one who created that fear and stored it in your subconscious mind. So that becomes very empowering because that means you can do something about it. And that's where when you listed
Oh.
off all those things, like, well, it does this, it does this, it's like, well, in and of itself, hypnotherapy doesn't fix anybody. I don't fix anybody as a hypnotherapist.
Hmm.
I help you fix yourself.
Well,
There's,
let's talk about what hypnotherapy is and
Mhm.
why it is, and what it does, right?
Sure.
Because I do know from people that I have spoken with who've experienced it themselves that at least for them it really helped them a lot. And
Yeah.
everybody's carrying all kinds of fear. I mean, we've picked up so much crap and bullshit in our lives that has been stuck in our heads that somehow we've decided to keep there.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and
Well,
so what is it and how does it work?
it's very interesting that you said it that way. We decided to keep it there. Because in a sense, that's exactly what we're doing. But for protection and for survival, that's the main job of the subconscious mind. Yes, it's, beating our heart and we're breathing and running our digestive system and growing our hair and taking a little baby from day one to being an adult. All this stuff, splitting our cells, all this stuff we don't have to think about, which is great. It holds on to those habits that we have, like tying our shoes and zipping up our jacket and riding a bicycle and driving a stick shift and all that kind of stuff. Walking, learning how to walk. It holds on to those habits. It holds on, it runs our systems of our body all without us having to think about it. But its
Right.
main job is to keep us safe, keep us protected, is for survival, which doesn't necessarily mean happy and successful, right? Just alive and breathing. So it sort of has this filing cabinet. And when you experience hurt and pain, situations, circumstances, events that cause anxiety, fear, anger, worry, overwhelm, it records that and files it away in this filing cabinet because it doesn't want to experience it again. It's not against you. Your subconscious mind is for you. It may not seem like that sometimes, but your
Oh,
subconscious mind is
interesting.
for you and wanting to protect you by holding on to these files. And if anything in your world registers one of those files, because you're bringing in all this information from your five senses, what you're seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling during your day, as you're bringing in all this information subconsciously, because we're only cognizant of a little bit of information in our world.
Right,
You're
right,
bringing all this
right.
information. It's getting filed through that. It's getting filtered through that filing cabinet. And if anything registers one of those files as like even slightly similar, you'll get the warning signals. Now, when somebody pulls a fire alarm in a building,
Uh-huh.
the alarm goes off, the strobe lights go off, warning everybody that there's danger, you need to get to safety.
Right.
Well, we also have a warning system, but instead of lights and sirens, we have feeling states. The feeling state of anxiety, the feeling state of fear, of overwhelm, of worry, of anger. It's warning us through the sensations, the feelings of our body that we're in danger. Now, the big problem with that, and one of the issues of being human, is that the mind can't tell the difference between what's real and what's imagined. And this is most noticeable when,
Oh, okay, go ahead.
well,
I just want to repeat that.
yeah,
You said,
the mind cannot tell between a real event and an imagined event.
okay,
Now, cognitively, in our consciousness, we can figure that out. But in terms of quickly filtering in information and whether we're in danger or not, it can't tell right away whether the danger we're experiencing is real or imagined.
Okay.
So a great example of this is a nightmare. And if you've ever experienced this, John, or maybe some of your listeners have experienced this, uh, or maybe your children have, it doesn't matter how crazy, how ridiculous, how dumb the nightmare is. A gigantic cheeseburger's chasing you down the street throwing coconuts at you. It's dumb. It's not going to happen ever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the mind in that instant, even in deep sleep, thinks you're being attacked. And so it'll turn on the defense mechanisms, a fight or flight response. This is not an easy thing to do. It's very difficult. It's not an efficient way of running the body. But thinking you're in danger from this cheeseburger throwing coconuts at you, it'll turn on the stress response, and your brain starts creating adrenaline and cortisol and dumping that into your bloodstream. Adrenaline, you probably maybe heard crazy stories of grandmothers lifting cars off of babies.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's adrenaline doing that. The soldier running from behind enemy lines for 3 days straight, no food, no water, no sleep. That's adrenaline doing that. That's now coursing through your body. Your heart starts pumping faster to get that adrenaline to the big muscles of your legs and your arms. 300% more blood is moving to the big muscles of your arms to fight. 300% more blood moving to the big muscles of your legs to escape. That's got to come from somewhere.
Oh.
So it's turning down
Yeah.
the power of your immune system, turning down. That's why people get sick when they're stressed for long periods of time. Is turning down the power on your digestive system. That's why people get irritable bowel syndrome when they're stressed and anxious for long periods of time. All because you're being chased down the street by a cheeseburger because your mind has this safety protocol of shoot first, ask questions later. And so even in deep sleep, you're running this system. And so you can imagine what's going on in your waking world, right? And so with the subconscious mind, its main job is to keep you safe, protected. One of the best ways it does this for us is this filing cabinet, which it emotionalizes in order to get our attention if it thinks we're in danger. Yes, it's running our systems of our body. It's running our taking care of those habits. But its main job is to keep us safe and alive, and it's running it through this emotionalized filing cabinet of all the hurt and pain we've experienced. Because again, it doesn't want to experience it again. It's running off computer code of what we've experienced in the past, and so that
That
informs how it's going to keep us safe. So that's the subconscious mind. The conscious mind.
wait.
Okay,
Okay, okay. Hold that thought. We're going to
sure.
go to the conscious mind because what you just talked about with the subconscious mind was fascinating,
Yeah,
and I've never heard it in terms of a cheeseburger chasing you
yeah.
throwing coconuts. I mean that, and that was wonderful. That was a wonderful example of what you're talking about. Because what I and if I can paraphrase, one of the things that I came out of that with. Um, is that, given that the mind doesn't know, whether it's real
Mhm.
or not, and it's collecting all these experiences and it's collecting all of this stuff and filing it away. Is that the reason why we fear so much? One of the things that I my experience is that probably 90% of the things that I fear never happen.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And
And
I'll be, it's almost paralyzing sometimes, right? Where the fear factor comes in, and then I sit back and I go, what?
yeah.
When I think about it, I'll go, what? Why is this paralyzing me?
Yeah.
But the
The problem,
automatic, yeah.
the issue around that, especially the ruminating that especially as we're trying to fall asleep and we're ruminating, we're fearing something in the future. Maybe you remember, maybe it's linked to something in the past that's happened, even if it was 30, 40 years ago.
Uh-huh.
Or like, oh, I got to get up and do that speech at the big conference next month. And in the sixth grade, I went up and did the book report and everybody laughed at me. And so now they equate being up in front of people with being unsafe.
Oh,
And now that filing cabinet is like, oh, you got tapped to be the keynote speaker at the conference. And now the filing cabinet is starting to rush. But the thing is that fear of the future, it's sort of like your subconscious mind's running a flight simulator. And if a pilot needs to fly into London next week and they've never been to London before, they're going to get on their at home in their computer. They can get on a flight simulator and practice. And
Right.
they're going to say, well, what happens if there's turbulence over the Atlantic, really bad turbulence over the Atlantic? Here's what I'm going to do, and train for that. What happens if they're flying in and it's nighttime and it's dark and it's raining? What if they switch runways on me? What if they're flying into Heathrow and at the last minute they get switched to Gatwick? What are they going to do? They're going to practice all these scenarios before they actually fly to London so they feel comfortable and they feel prepared. That's what your
Right.
mind's trying to do. Oh, I got this big speech coming up next month. And what happens if my PowerPoint dies? What happens if I start to stammer and forget what I'm supposed to say? What if people start laughing? What if they start throwing tomatoes at me? What if they chase me off the stage? It gets bigger and bigger. Well, it's
Oh my
imaginary, and you're
gosh.
running a flight
Yeah.
simulator, but your mind starts thinking, "This is real. This is what's going to happen."
And and
And
and
then
part
that
of
sets it's like this cycle, and then it's like sets the warning signals of fear going. You're in
and part
danger
of
because
part
they're going to throw tomatoes at you when you do your speech.
so
No, they're not.
one of the things that I wanted to talk about, that you brought up was the fear of public speaking, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Because what you said a little bit earlier is that it's experiential. Your mind is collecting all these experiences and to keep you safe. And I was going to say, most people have never done public speaking before.
Right.
And so therefore, where does the mind get everything? But you just said that,
Yeah.
during school, you get up and
Yeah.
you you do your
And
book
if
report and
you're
people laugh at
more
you. And so,
yeah, and
yeah.
if you're more geared towards being an introvert, getting up in front of people and having
Oh my
that
gosh.
energy at you is draining. You can do it.
Very
Certainly,
much.
lots of people are introverts and get up on stage. I mean, for all intents and purposes,
Yep.
she hasn't come out and said so, or I don't think, but from what people who are into being, researching this kind of thing, from her song lyrics and her interviews, Taylor Swift seems to be an introvert. It doesn't mean she can't get in front of 80,000 people for 3 hours and entertain. It just means she's not
Right.
going to the after party, right? She's not David Lee Roth. She's not Keith Moon. She's not going to the after party. She's going to go back to her hotel
Interesting.
room alone and recharge because that was draining for her. Other people get hyped up by it. We know the theater kids who are in school and they're all excited to be up on stage and wanted all the attention on them. They thrived on that. Good for them. And that's great. Be an extrovert.
Right. Right.
But with an introvert, it's draining for you. And if it doesn't go well because you really didn't read the book, or you got it wrong, or you stammered or you stuttered, and people start laughing, and it makes you more nervous, and it just goes wrong. Well, now you've got this file in the filing cabinet, and if you
Oh my
keep adding on
gosh.
to it, and now the big problem is memory, and memory is faulty. The memories we
Right.
have are not accurate because we add on to our memories. One memory expert said that the only way to keep a memory pure is never to think about it, never to remember it. And so when we think of a memory, whether it happened 2 years ago, 20 years ago, 40 years ago, when we think about it again, we now add on our life experience and maybe what we're going through in the moment, and we manipulate it and change it. And so it's not a pure memory. And if you went back to that sixth grade book report and you're looking at it with as an interested observer, and you see, oh, there was one kid who snickered, and he didn't snicker at you, he snickered at the funny name of the person in the book, you
Right.
know? But over years, it turned into the whole class was laughing at me, and it didn't go well. Now I can't do my public speaking. And then the fear comes in of like they're going to throw tomatoes at me. And since the mind can't tell that's real or imagined, it thinks it's real. And now the fear sets in. And then you practice that and then you get really good at it. So it's just this one thing
Wow.
that kind of keeps, building up on each other. And all of a sudden you have a 50-story building of anxiety and fear that,
That
wasn't
is
there when you were
fast.
born. You had to practice all that. And so and that's the problem is that's the subconscious mind. That's its job is to keep you safe and protected. It's doing it in a way it knows how. It's doing it with computer code that was entered by you, maybe accidentally, maybe unconsciously, maybe through distress and trauma, but you're the one who entered it. And that's going to become very important in a minute. But our conscious mind, now that's the logical mind, the analytical mind, the mind that creates our goals, the plans to achieve those goals, the willpower to go after those goals. But what neuroscience tells us is that conscious mind only makes up 5% of mind. Subconscious mind makes up 95% of mind. So when there's conflict between the logical mind and the emotional mind wins every time. That's why when you think about it, logically, it doesn't make any sense. Why am I afraid of giving this? They're not going to throw tomatoes at
Right,
me.
right,
I'm going to
right,
be prepared. I'm
exactly.
going to Toastmasters. I have a coach. I'm going to practice. Uh, it doesn't logically make any sense. No, it doesn't. It absolutely does not. And because that's not the mind that's in charge of this. It's the emotional mind that's in charge. And that's why, and not to disparage talk therapy at all, I think talk therapy can be very useful, very helpful. But why sometimes logically talking this through doesn't help. It can be very helpful in a lot of situations and it helps a lot of
Interesting.
people. But sometimes people find themselves 2, 3 years into talk therapy, spinning their wheels talking about the same thing, and it never resolves itself because they're using the wrong part of mind to try to solve the issue. The issue is held within the subconscious mind. You know,
And
as you
talk
said it
therapy,
before.
and talk therapy, just real quick.
Yeah.
So, and talk therapy addresses the
Yeah. Yeah. So you
logical
have to
mind.
talk
So
about
talk
logically.
therapy is a 5% instead of the 95%.
Yeah. And the basic difference between talk therapy and hypnotherapy, the kind of foundational issue is that in it's the state of consciousness that you're in. In talk therapy, you're using the beta brainwave state. So you're in the moment consciousness. So right now, you and I, John, we're in the beta brainwave state. We're having a conversation. We're
Okay.
having a discussion. We're learning from each other. And so we're firing our brain cells. All the neurons are firing in a pattern. Like when I move my arms around or when I walk down the street or when I feel emotion and I think a thought, I'm firing brain cells in a certain pattern. How fast that pattern fires determines what state of consciousness I'm in. So right now I'm in the beta, the famous ones we learned about in school, beta, alpha, theta, delta. There's others that have come up, but just for the sake of this discussion, beta is consciousness. So you're paying
Okay.
attention. You're in this present moment. When you're doing meditation, you want to bring yourself back to this present moment and be here now. And that's firing about 18, 20 cycles per second. Let's say I'm back in high school math class and I need to pay attention because I it's going to be on the final and I got to do
Hmm.
well. I got to do really good on this test. And so I'm taking notes and I'm paying attention. I'm trying to figure out these equations. It's just so boring for me. And all of a sudden I just kind of drift off and I start staring out the window. And now I've moved myself out of the present moment and I'm thinking about the weekend and how much fun I'm going to have because I'm going to go hang out with my friends. We're going to go do this, we're going to do that. And then I thought, yeah, that reminds me of a couple summers ago when we went to the Grand Canyon and we had a really great time. And now I've moved myself out of the present moment. I've moved inward. I've altered my state of consciousness. And I've slowed down how fast my brain is running. And I've moved down to maybe 14, 12 cycles per second. Now I'm in the alpha brainwave state, that daydreamy, imaginative brain. My eyes are open. I'm just watching the trees, leaves blow in the wind, and I'm
That's me
thinking
all
about the
the
weekend.
time.
I'm thinking about my girlfriend. I'm thinking about my boyfriend, and
Hmm.
all of a sudden I'm not there anymore. Teacher's still talking. The students still asking questions or acting up or throwing papers at each other, whatever. But I'm not paying attention to any of that. I've moved inward. I've gone somewhere else in my altered state of consciousness of the beta or of the alpha brainwave state. And then all of a sudden my eyes start getting heavy and my head starts nodding down. And I'm not really asleep, not really awake either. Now I've slowed down to about 6 cycles per second. I'm in the theta brainwave state. In a few minutes, I'm probably going to be fast asleep in the delta brainwave state, firing at 1 or half cycle per second. But the teacher sees me and say, "Hey, Craig, why don't you come up here and do the problem on the board?" And I jolt awake
Yeah.
and I look around and everybody's staring at me and I'm embarrassed because I don't know what's going on and I'm looking at the board. I don't know how to do this equation. I wasn't paying attention. And now I'm stressed. I'm firing about 30 cycles per second because I'm in high beta firing in the stress response. So in just a matter of whatever, 7, 8 minutes, I've altered my state of consciousness 3 or 4 times. And by that's a normal human experience that we all have every day, whether it's a boring meeting at work, whether you're driving home after coming home from work or picking up the kids or from shopping, and you start thinking about something else, and all of a sudden you're in your driveway or in your parking spot, you're in your garage, you don't remember the last 4 or 5 blocks, you altered your state of consciousness. or even in you're watching a movie and you get lost in the movie. There's really not spaceships that shoot lasers like that and things, but you get lost in it. Well, you've altered your state of consciousness. Watching TV puts you into the alpha brainwave state. And so these are experiences, these altered states of consciousness we experience multiple times a day, every day. In hypnotherapy, we take advantage of that. By moving you out of this present moment state of consciousness of the beta brainwave state and moving you down to the alpha brainwave state, maybe even theta brainwave state, you quiet down that conscious level of mind and you move into the subconscious. And that's where healing happens. And that's why healing can happen fast. And I'm not saying everything's a 1 or 2 session thing,
Right.
uh, situation, but we're certainly not doing 80, 90 sessions over 2 years, like some
Can
people.
it can it be a 1 or 2 session thing?
Yeah.
That
Okay,
happens,
here's an
right?
example, not to, ring my bell or pat myself on the back.
Please
Um,
do.
but I will. Um, so I work with everybody, and the reason why I was working with a small business association, trying to get my business going and do marketing and all this kind of stuff. And you're supposed to walk in with like who your customer is, who your avatar is, who specifically your clientele will be.
Hmm.
And I walked in, I'm like, well, I'm working with people's subconscious mind. And so I talked to this person for a real long time. He's like, my God, this is like the first business I've ever run into that's really for everybody. And it's not me, it's the thing of hypnotherapy because I'm not fixing anybody. And hypnotherapy is not fixing anybody. You're fixing yourself. And so whether you're 9 years old or you're 90 years old, you can fix yourself. And so it doesn't matter economics, it doesn't matter gender, it doesn't matter age. You fix yourself. And so I was working with a 9-year-old kid, and well, the situation was he had been struggling with extraordinary nightmares every night for 2 years.
Mm.
And so much so that he'd scream himself awake, and one of his parents would have to sleep in
Oh,
bed the rest of the night. And so not only, of course, is everybody stressed, they're not sleeping. Uh, there's a tension between the parents because they're not sleeping together anymore, and this what are they going to do about son? They went to counselors, they went to psychotherapists, they went to sleep doctors, they went to sleep, centers. They went to everything for 2 years. Nothing is working. Nothing's changed. He's still screaming himself awake every night with these extraordinarily horrific nightmares he's having. And my wife and I run the Northern Arizona Massage and Wellness Clinic. And my wife just retired from massage, but she'd been doing massage for about 30 years. And she now just runs the clinic. But she was working on the mom. She was giving the mom a massage, and mom was saying, I can't believe last night was the worst night ever. And I had to sleep with him, and he just kicked and rustled and all night long.
oh.
And nothing worked. And we've been to counselors, and I don't know what to do. And she's kind of crying while she's getting her massage. And Christina's like, well, my husband does hypnotherapy. You should try that. She's like, yeah, I'll try anything, which is kind of unfortunate with us hypnotherapists. We're sort of like the therapy of last resort. Is when people have given up hope and it's like, well, I guess I'll try hypnotherapy. Uh, so she scheduled a session. I don't even know who this person is. And I see that she makes a session, schedule a session. And so Christina tells me who she is. And so I call her just to get a little background information, what the situation is. And I find out that the kid likes Star Wars, specifically The Mandalorian. If people know that show, that's the one with Baby Yoda in it. And
Hmm.
I'd seen some of those shows. And so when we come in, I come out of my office. He's sitting in the lobby with his mom. His mom's going to be in there with him. And I kind of crouch down. I look him in the eye. I say, "Hey, we're doing this. If you want to, if you don't want to do this, no harm, no foul. And you can leave. But if you want to do this, please understand that you're going to do it, not me. I don't fix anybody. You're going to do this. And then if you're ready to heal this now, get up off the chair and we'll go to my office." Gets up out of his chair. So I'm already starting the hypnotherapy process, conversational hypnosis, eyes open under bright lights in the lobby of this building. We walk into my office, my door's closed. I say, look, I just want to make sure you perfectly understand that you don't have to do this unless you want to heal, unless you're going to heal this now. again, implanting suggestions to him that this is going to end right now. I said, if you are sure you want to do this and you're going to do the work that you will heal this now, open the door and go into the office. So he opens the door,
Oh,
goes to the office.
interesting.
So I'm already planting seeds of like, okay, you're gonna fix this yourself. You already know you're going to do it because you got up the chair, you opened my door, pick the seat you want to sit in. There's a recliner, there's a comfy little chair, there's my office chair. Pick whatever seat you think is the seat you need to be in to heal this. And of course, he picks the recliner. And so a lot of it was me saying, or having him close his eyes and basically having him imagine lying in bed and having four Mandalorians at each corner of his bed. And if you don't know that show, there was it's the Boba Fett from Empire Strikes
Scar.
Back,
Yep,
the
yep, yep.
bounty hunter
Boba
guy.
Fett.
So a bunch of those kind of
Hmm.
people, and they're all in their armor. They all have the jetpacks. They all have the blaster guns or whatever. So four on the corners, one above, one below. And then the other thing was there was a scene in Mandalorian where Baby Yoda forms a protective vibrational field around himself when he's meditating. So he
Hmm.
forms this force field around him, kind of like. And so I said, okay, now pretend that Baby Yoda is sitting there facing you, and you and him form this force field around you, around all of it. And and now let's run those nightmares. And so I had him like there's ghouls, and then there's aliens, and then there's zombies, and there's all sorts of horrific things that were coming at him to attack him. So I said, run the zombies and see what happens to them now. And so he ran it, and of course the Mandalorians take care of it. The ones that escape get zapped by the force field. And so it's okay, let's run aliens. Let's run the other. So we practice running. Now let's run them all together at the same time. Zip, zap, zip, poof. And it's like, what happens? Well, they all, okay, I can protect myself. And so we did some other things. The whole thing took 45 minutes. And I said, at the very end, only when you know that this is gone and this is done and this is healed, open your eyes and walk out the door. And so, took a beat, kind of breath in, opened his eyes. It's like, I just shrugged. I was like, that's it. And he walked out the door. And his mom's like, okay, well, and mom left with him. Never had a nightmare.
What?
Never had a nightmare again. One 45
What?
minute session,
Wait, wait, wait.
one
So,
45
so
minute session cured him of 2 years of nightmares that no other therapy could help him with because he was doing it himself.
wow.
And that's what's important about this work. And while I can toot my horn and pat myself on the back for kind of planning out that session, he was the one who did it. And if
Fascinating.
he didn't get up out of the chair, he could have walked out the front door. I gave him permission to walk out the front door. I wouldn't be mad. I got stuff to do. No,
Yeah,
no.
yeah. No, no
I
doubt.
said,
And
I want to make sure you want to do this. If you want to do it, open my door and let's walk in.
well,
He
the
wanted
first
to
thing
do it,
that
and he did it.
yeah, the first thing that struck me as you were talking about that is that you were giving him the choice.
Mhm.
It was
Yeah.
his to choose, and you were giving him the power and the control,
Yeah. Give him the
right?
power control and he can end it. Whereas mom and dad are making appointments and other doctors are telling them what to do.
Right.
And how do you feel about that? And do you have trouble in school? I
That
don't,
is amazing. So,
yeah.
what struck me as you were speaking about this young boy and his nightmares,
Mhm.
um, as you were talking about that, I was thinking about veterans and soldiers with PTSD,
Mhm.
and I understand you help folks like that too,
Yeah.
right?
Well, you can imagine this kid had a lot of PTSD from
Yeah,
2 years of nightmares every night. So you can imagine a soldier coming back from war or peace
yeah,
activity, what you would call it now, and kind of same situation. Maybe they're having nightmares.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know that I would handle it the same way, but
Right, right, certainly.
you got
But
to allow them the opportunity to release it
so where do
because
you think?
there's a lot of therapies where yes, you go to that therapist and you want them to help you. Massage is a great example of this.
Okay,
It's kind of the difference between massage and yoga. If people have ever gone to massage or gone to yoga class, you know that the massage therapist is doing the work to
right,
relax your muscles, stretch your muscles, and all that. A yoga class, you're doing it through the instruction of
right.
somebody. Now bend over like this. Now stretch your leg out like that. And at the end, you may actually feel kind of the same. your muscles are relaxed and stretched out and things. But
Uh-huh.
there's two different modalities, both valid, both true, both wonderful. But one is somebody else is doing it for you, the massage. The other one, yoga, you're doing it through the instruction of somebody else. Like, okay, today's back day. Great. My back hurts. All right, let's work on the back, or let's do leg day or whatever it is. And so, it's like a surgeon. Yeah, the surgeon's the one that's going to help you deal with the appendix problem or whatever it is. They're the one doing the healing work. Whereas something like therapeutic hypnosis, you're doing it. It's more like the yoga example.
Right,
You're the one
right,
that's going to
right.
be doing the work while the hypnotherapist facilitates and keeps it safe for you.
With regard going back to that child, where
Yeah.
where do you think where do you think all of his or I should ask this as a different question. Um, any ideas in terms of where all the nightmares came
No,
from?
that's a very interesting question. There's research about that, and I'm not even close to being an expert on
Okay,
why the
okay.
mind, but it might be one of those things, again, just practice makes perfect. There's some research saying that nightmares are just the brain's way of filing information, which I can see in a certain aspect, but or not just nightmares, but dreams. And so nightmares may fall under that. But in terms of like scary nightmares, I don't know. The
Yeah,
thing is, they
yeah.
might have um, seen a scary movie when
Yeah,
he was
could be anything,
because
right?
his older brother or parents were watching a movie late at night, and he woke up and came down and saw a
Yeah,
horrific thing from a R-rated movie he wasn't supposed to see at the wrong moment.
right, right.
And now he
Yeah,
has
like
this
a scary
image, and now his
movie. I
brain,
mean, could be
it could
anything.
be the
Yeah,
subconscious
yeah,
mind's running a
yeah.
simulation saying, well, what happens, when the zombies come after you?
Right,
Or maybe
right.
some kids
That
at
is that is
school were
amazing.
showing like, look, now everything's accessible on your phone, and so if some kid had a phone at school that could access R-rated movies or something,
Right. Oh, well,
watching it at
yeah.
lunchtime. I don't know.
Yeah. That's crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy. So yeah, and especially, with what you said before, that only 5% of our
Yeah.
consciousness is
Well,
logical, right? The
yeah,
rest of it
yeah.
is,
And what's
yeah.
interesting is we're being inundated with 11 million bits of information per second. Now, this is through our five senses, what we're seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, and smelling. And so right now, you're probably not cognizant, John, of the temperature in the room you're in. Now, if you think about it, you're like, yeah, it's pretty pleasant.
Yeah.
It's like
Right.
room temperature. Now, if it
Right.
was too hot, you'd notice it. If it was too cold, you'd think, God, I don't know why the air conditioner keeps kicking on, or may I need to go get a sweater. You would notice it. You'd move into your field of consciousness. But it's like
Right.
sounds. Like I was explaining to you before, I had to rush maybe down to my office because the neighbors decided to jackhammer half an hour before we started. And like I haven't been hearing it, but I'm hearing them. They've stopped jackhammering, but they're doing something. If I can listen, I can hear it, but
Right.
it's not bothering me.
Right.
Or, it's like the ceiling fan. It's humming, or the refrigerator's humming when it turns on. You don't notice it unless maybe there's a clunk or a squeak,
Right.
and it comes
Right.
in your field of vision because of that 11 million bits of information that we're getting. We're only cognizant of 200 bits. So we have to filter out a lot of stuff, and what we're cognizant of is directly influenced by the subconscious mind and that filing cabinet. And so it's that thing of
Wow.
when you're thinking about buying a new car and you're thinking about
Hmm.
buying a Toyota Prius, now all of a sudden you see Toyota Priuses everywhere
Right. Right.
on the street
Exactly.
or in every
Exactly.
parking lot. The
Yeah.
Ford
Yeah.
dealership has a Toyota Prius for sale for some weird reason. Your neighbor has one. You never noticed that before. The Toyota Priuses were always there. They were there yesterday and
Right.
last year and 10 years ago.
Exactly.
But you just didn't notice them because you weren't trying to solve the issue of the new car. So
Right.
you didn't notice the Toyota Priuses. But now you want to get good gas mileage and all that. Now you see Toyota Priuses everywhere because you're thinking about them as a solution to your needing a new car. But then you think, well, I like being outdoors and I like being out in nature and like camping and backpacking. I should get a four-wheel drive car. I should get a Jeep. Well, now you just focused your attention. Now you don't see Priuses anymore. You see Jeeps everywhere. But the Jeeps are always
Right.
parked next to the Priuses. They're always driving down the road.
Right. Right.
Well, now it
Right.
looks like a Jeep convention in town. but you're also not noticing the BMWs or the Kias or the Dodge Caravans. And so this is that thing when your day goes from bad to worse, if anybody's ever had that experience, it's it's like you focused your mind with those 200 bits of information to find you problems and all the junk that's going on in life. There's a lot of great stuff happening. There's a lot to be grateful about. There's a lot to be joyful about.
Right.
There is. I swear to you, there is. You're
The
just
11 million bits that are
you're
going
just
on
filtering it out. You are just
to those
filtering it out.
200.
And so that's
Wow.
where having a plan to set yourself up in the morning, some sort of system of exercises or meditation or something to get you going in the morning to focus your attention so you have an awesome day. And whatever that means to you. And whether that's some sort of meditation work, that's some sort of exercise work, like a 3-2-1 reset exercise where you're just like hugging yourself and thinking of somebody you want to hug, which is literally changing the chemistry in your brain to pour in oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine and just breathing. Imagine doing an exercise that floods you full of oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine. And then how's your day going to go? Yeah, yeah, there's challenges in life.
At
But
least you're starting
yeah,
off that
yeah.
way,
But then, but
in,
then,
in
but
in
then
a good
reset
way.
yourself, or find some other exercise, or take a walk, or walk up the stairs. Find something to reset yourself so you don't fall into that trap of, well, my day is going bad, so I guess it's just going to go bad. No, there's lots
Yeah,
of
it's
good
like
stuff out there. You've just narrowed it. You have this narrow field of vision, and so just change the narrow field of vision to over here, so you see something good, right? But it's relentless. It's not just you do it once. It's like your physical health. You gotta keep maintaining and working at
You
it.
got to work at it. Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
You know what you were just talking about, I was envisioning a downward spiral, right?
yeah,
Where your day where something happens in your day and it just seems to be getting
yeah,
worse and worse and worse. And figuring out a way, I think what you just said is figure out a way to break that cycle, right?
yeah.
Go walk up the stairs, go outside, breathe, right?
You gotta change. You just said it to two things. You just said it right there. To change your state, and that's what you gotta do when you're in that spiral and you're going down the drain
Right.
and your day's going from bad to worse. You gotta break state, and the way to do that is to move your body and to breathe. The best two ways to do to center yourself and ground yourself. Because, when you're depressed, you start hunching on. Of course, we got our phones and we're all hunched over and our necks are bending over. And you got to change your state, move your body, roll your shoulders, roll your neck. Yeah, maybe walk up the stairs, maybe go outside for a few minutes of sunshine and breathe deeply into your belly. And that will help start resetting your nervous system.
Okay. So I want everybody right now take 5 seconds, right?
Yeah.
Take 5 seconds. Just just do what we're doing. Just
Yeah.
breathe, put your shoulders back, stretch your back, and exhale.
Yeah. And since I
How do you feel?
mentioned it,
I
let's
mean,
let's
when
let's
you did that,
yeah.
I did that, and just in that moment, and I know that everybody who just did what we told them
Yeah.
to do, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Just that 3 or 5 seconds of just doing that, it just kind of goes, oh, okay,
Yeah.
right?
You've been
Yeah,
given everything you need to regulate your nervous system. And the breath is a big part of that, moving your body. Somatic therapies where you move your body. Um, and don't have to do anything as it's nice to get a massage, it's nice to do yoga, it's nice to do qigong, things like that. But just if you don't have the opportunity and you got 5 minutes before the meeting starts, yeah, roll your shoulders. I mean, it's like
in your
an
chair.
athlete. You got to put yourself in state, like an athlete
Yes,
walking up
yes,
to the starting line. Are they going to go like, I don't know, I'm a loser, and look at all these other athletes who are probably better than me. What's the chances of them winning? They got to put themselves in the
yeah,
state,
that's
the
right.
mindset of a champion, every single one of them.
Yeah,
You get on that
yes,
diving platform to do the, butterfly swim thing, and you look over and Mark Phelps is next to you. What are you going to do? You're going to go, oh, well, I guess Mark Phelps is getting the gold this time. Or are you going to go, "Yeah, he's an old man. He's got shoulder problems. I'm a
yeah.
champion. I'm
Let's
a
go,
winner.
baby.
Let's
Yeah,
go, baby."
yeah,
But any
yeah,
athlete, professional, Olympic athlete, whoever, they're walking up to home plate. They're walking up to starting line, or if they're doing gymnastics, they're walking up to the mat or the uneven bars with the mindset of a champion. They're
yep.
putting themselves back, and that's how you win.
And they
And
work at it.
we
Yep.
should do that in our own lives. You got that meeting,
So,
you got that investor meeting, you got that first date, you got your 50th anniversary party. You know, you're walking home after a bad day, or not walking home, but you're getting out of your car before you walk back in your house in a pissy mood. Why don't you just like get yourself in state of the person you'd rather be?
well,
Take 5
one of the things that you wrote was that just by sitting in a comfortable place, closing your eyes and pretending
minutes.
you're the person you want to become can literally rewire your brain,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
If the mind can't tell the difference between what's real and what's imagined, why don't you use that to
That
your
is
advantage?
amazing. Yeah,
Because it
and you
is.
said that Olympic athletes do
Yeah.
this all the time.
Oh yeah,
Champions
they
do
do
this all the
mental
time.
rehearsal all the time. The in the 1990s, early 1990s, they started, having all these MRIs machines and SPECT scans and things. And so lots of research being done on the brain, and some researchers wanted to watch the brain as it learned something new. And so they picked piano. And so they brought a bunch of volunteers in who didn't know how to play the piano. And they showed them the simple little scales and exercises and songs you learn as a beginner. And they have the cap with the little electrodes on and stuff, and they're watching
Hmm.
their brain.
Hmm.
And so they play piano for 2 hours and practice piano. They had a second group come in and just dink around on the piano. They didn't show them how to play anything. They don't know how to play. They just like making note,
Right, right.
making sounds. And watching their brains. They had a third group who were the control group. They didn't do anything because when you're doing this kind of research, you want to compare and contrast. Here's a brain that
Hmm.
doesn't do anything. Here's a brain that's learning something new. At the end of the week, what are the differences? Compare and contrast. And they had a fourth group, and this is where it gets interesting. They had a fourth group just pretend that they're learning how to play the piano. And so they brought this group in. They showed them the simple little scales and exercises and little songs you learn as a beginner. But instead of sitting at the piano for 2 hours, they went and sat in a recliner and just pretended to play the piano in their imagination like a daydream. So at the end of a week, just 7 days straight, they looked at everybody's brains again and found, of course, the control group, nothing changed. Of course not. They weren't learning anything new. They didn't do
Hmm.
anything. So their brains didn't change. The group who only just made sounds on the piano and didn't learn anything, their brains didn't change either. They didn't learn anything. They weren't
Right,
doing anything specifically different other than just kind of plunking around on the piano.
right.
The group who actually learned piano, put their fingers on the keys, made music, heard the music with their ears, read the sheet music with their eyeballs, worked the keys with their fingers. So they're putting physical and mental and visual and auditory all into it. They developed a new neural network in the part of the brain for music and learning. Of course they did. They're learning music. So of course that makes sense. There's no big mystery there. They put all this time and effort into actually playing the piano. They developed new neural pathways, brain cells connecting
In their
together
mind,
in their mind, in
playing
their
the
brains.
piano in their
Right.
mind,
They literally changed their biology.
pretending.
Yeah. No, 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 no. Just the actual people playing the piano. The group that actually learned how to play the piano.
Okay,
Changed their brains. They learned new things, and so their brain cells started connecting together. But
okay,
like you just alluded to, the group who only pretended
okay,
to
okay.
play the
Yep.
piano also developed the same neural network in the same part of the brain. So
Really?
take it. Yeah. They literally, through imagination, through pretending, rewired their brain in about 6 days. You know, it's extraordinary.
Wow.
And that's the whole fake it till you make it thing. You can literally pretend to be the person you want to be until you actually wire that into your system. There was maybe some of the people who are listening will remember back in the 1970s, the Soviet Union was very dominant in gymnastics in the
Oh God,
Olympics and World
yes.
Championships.
And East
You had
Germany. Yep.
Nadia, yeah,
Yep.
all the Eastern Bloc,
Yep.
Soviet countries, Nadia Comaneci from Romania and all that.
Hmm.
And they won the gold, the silver, and the bronze. They won all the world championships. Nobody could figure out how they are so far more dominant than every other country in the world in gymnastics. And in the late 70s, early 80s, some of the uh, people on the gymnastics team and some of the coaches started to defect. And what they found, what they told the world, is that the Soviet Union gymnastics team was spending at least 50% of their time in mental rehearsal, is what they called it. So yes, they'd get on the mat and they do the twists and the tumbles and the turns and all that
Really?
stuff, or they'd be on the uneven bars or the rings or whatever. They do that work. They spend about as much time sitting in a recliner or on the couch, mentally rehearsing with their eyes closed. The successful twists and turns, the successful dismount off the uneven bars. They were mentally rehearsing that over and over and over again. And now we know why that worked because they are literally wiring that success into their brains. Yeah. So that the next
Wow.
rehearsal, they do it even better than they would mentally rehearse. Maybe they just focus on one specific little thing. Maybe they focus on the whole routine. Maybe just focus on the dismount. But then, the next day they're doing a little better, and then they mentally rehearse and they do, they just kept getting better and better because they're mentally rehearsing their success. And that was wiring into it because their minds thought they were actually doing it, and so it changed their physiology. And that we can do that, just like the nightmare. Just pretending something ridiculous like a cheeseburger chasing us down the street throwing coconuts at you can literally change our physiology. It's hard to get into the stress response. It's not an efficient way of running the body. It's very difficult. It's like driving your car in first gear at 80 miles an hour down the freeway. You can do it.
Right.
It's not good
Right.
for the car. So the brain, and body don't want to do it. But if it thinks you're in danger, of course, you need to protect and survive and keep safe. So it'll do it, but it's a huge change in the physiology. So
And
that
like you
means we
said,
have control over that. Imagine getting control over that. And that's what
yeah.
is extraordinary about therapeutic hypnosis. And I know hypnosis is a bit of a lot of baggage to that word, and which is
Well, it's
really
an unknown
unfortunate.
to so many people. It's
Yeah,
just
especially
that
because of
yeah.
TV and
Yeah.
movies and Las
Yeah.
Vegas shows
Yeah.
and all that, which is unfortunate because really it's just altering your state of consciousness that like you do every day and moving down the alpha, theta, and delta brainwave states. In fact, the alpha, theta, and delta brainwave states what's called the hypnagogic trance state. Watching TV puts you in the hypnagogic trance state. Being bored in high school math class, thinking about the weekend and how you got people coming over. You need to get the house together while you're driving home from work and you don't remember the last 5 blocks, and all of a sudden you're in your driveway. That's a hypnagogic trance state. We do it all the time. All we do in therapeutic hypnosis is take advantage of that. In fact, the word hypnosis comes from Greek mythology and the Greek god Hypnos, who is the Greek god of sleep. Because back in the early 1800s, Dr. James Esdale is a surgeon from Scotland, but he was doing surgeries, practicing as a doctor in India. And of course, early 1800s, there's no fancy hospitals, there's no fancy anesthesia or anything. You have your
Right.
leg amputated, you're biting down on a stick, or maybe you'll be lucky enough to be knocked unconscious. Uh, what Dr. Esdale started doing was using a deep, 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 deep trance state to put people so far into trance that it looked like they were in a coma. Then he could do surgery, he could do amputations, he could cut people open and take out tumors and sew them back up and deal with injuries and war wounds and things like this. He took it back to England and started talking about it and working with people on it. And another doctor, Dr. James Braid, started working with it too, wanting a word to discuss this trance state, this coma-like state with his colleagues and to write about it. He decided to name this coma-like state after the Greek god of sleep, Hypnos. So he called it hypnosis. And since then, over the last whatever 150 years, it's grown to encompass all sorts of different kinds of trance states, from very, very light all the way to the
Mm.
deep coma states that they still use. You can go on YouTube and see all sorts of people getting root canals and things done because they're allergic to the lidocaine or the novocaine. They're using hypnosis for dental work. People still use it for surgery sometimes if they're so allergic to the anesthesia or there's some issue with it. So
Okay,
there's,
wait. Okay, so in the case of a dentist, because I have a
Mhm.
friend who's allergic to Novocaine, and he was just telling me last week that he had a root canal done. And the Novocaine didn't take. It didn't take, and so he literally
My
felt
God.
every moment of that root canal. So
Yeah.
you just talked about how you know
Yep.
hypnosis. Is it the dentist that puts the patient in his
Uh,
hypnosis,
it,
or
it it would be great if dentists knew how to do it. There, maybe one of the dental hygienists. You might, in a situation like that, you might go to a hypnotherapist, like, "Hey, I have a dental appointment next month. I can't do the Novocaine or the lidocaine. I need you to train me so I can do this myself, or pay the person to join you in
oh,
the
interesting.
at the appointment." you might get headphones and listen to a recording or get do those binaural beats. That's binaural beats are great for flying. If people have a little nervousness around flying, get those binaural beat things and put them on your headphone. Boom, 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 boom. And it's like it calms you down, puts you in that theta brainwave state or a calm, relaxed state of mind. So there's lots of different ways to do it. I would definitely just not do a hypnotherapy appointment the day before and hope it works. I would do some
Yeah.
practice with it. I would like
Okay.
go a month
Okay.
before and start practicing, or either there's recordings on YouTube or something you can listen to. But
Interesting.
if I was
Wow.
seriously going to do a root canal and without any sort of anesthesia, I would definitely be practicing that. We would do that, and
Yeah. Okay. Good.
we would do that with at the Hypnotherapy Academy of America is where I did my training. It was a great school. Not was, it is a great school. And when we're doing medical hypnosis, part of that is pain control. And you didn't have to do this. This was more of a volunteer if you want to have this experience. But what some of us did is we numbed with our minds this part of our hand right here and stuck a needle through
Hmm.
it. Not all the way through, but through the skin. And you didn't feel it because you numbed it out.
Wow.
Yeah, it's wild.
Wow.
Wild what the mind can do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Listen, Craig, this has been amazing.
Yeah.
This has been amazing. And it's and I've so appreciated you because, throughout our conversation, you've also shared things that we can do on our own,
Yeah.
right? But most importantly for me, I mean, you've talked about this in layman's terms, starting with the cheeseburger chasing
Yeah.
you,
Yeah. That's it.
throwing coconuts at you. I
Yeah.
mean, how cool is that? And I'm going to listen to this episode over and over again because there's just there's so many great nuggets in it. You talk about a simple 5-minute exercise
Yeah.
that folks can do to reset their nervous system and change the chemistry of the brain.
Yeah.
Um,
I mentioned it before, and it's that 3-2-1 reset exercise. And I went through it kind of briefly, but let me explain real. And I know we're kind of running up against time,
yep,
but
yep, yep, yep.
I'll do
Let's
this
close with
very,
this.
very quickly. It's very simple, very, very simple. 3-2-1 reset. Starts with three slow, gentle breaths. And do
Okay.
10 if you want. Do
Okay.
5 if you want, but it's just the name of the exercise. So starts with the breathing. And this is very important. Not only, of course, are you oxygenating your system, which is what you need, you're exhaling and therefore cleansing your system. And what the breath is so important, obviously. But our brain takes 20% of the oxygen we breathe in. When we're stressed, we only shallow breathe. We're trying to
Right.
get quick
Right.
oxygen into our muscles to fight our way out of the situation or run away. And so we take those short, quick breaths instead of, it's like, no, not
Right.
enough time.
Right.
I need quick breaths. So
Right.
you breathe in quickly, but you're not utilizing. Feel where your rib cage is. It's like 2 inches from your hip bones. The lungs are
Hmm.
huge. Your heart's like the size of your fist. Your stomach's not that much bigger. Your lungs are huge. That's how much oxygen we need. And it's something like 30, 35 days without food and you die, 4 to 5 days without water and you die. But it's like 5, 6 minutes without oxygen, you're unconscious. 8, 9 minutes, you have permanent brain damage. 10, 11 minutes, and you're dead. You literally have minutes. You're on a fast for health reasons, for spiritual reasons. Good. That's great. That's awesome. You don't have a glass of water today. That's not great, but you're going to be okay. But you're not breathing well and you're holding your breath because you're stressed.
Right.
You're not
Right.
literally getting the life
It's not good.
nutrients you need within minutes, and your brain starts to panic because it's not getting what it needs to survive. The feeling state of panic is anxiety. So one of the best ways to relieve yourself of that anxiety is to breathe. Breathe deeply. And I know that's obnoxious when somebody's feeling anxious to tell them to breathe deeply, but that's literally one of the best things you can do. Breathing deeply. We also have this vagus nerve. It's coming out of the back of our head. We have 12 nerves. That's that thing when you touch a hot pot, signal goes
Hmm.
up your nerve into your brain. Hey, you're touching a hot pot. Let it go. You go back down. You let it go, all within a millionth of a second. Well, the 10th cranial nerve is the vagus nerve. Vagus is Latin for wonder. It attaches to the eyes, to the ears, muscles of your jaw, goes past your vocal cords, attaches to your heart, to your lungs, and to your gut. The vagus nerve is a big part of the parasympathetic nervous system, the relaxation response. You have the sympathetic nervous system, the stress response, the fight or flight response, the parasympathetic relaxation response. That's where we need to be most of the time when all the systems of our body getting the right amount of nutrients and blood supply and oxygen and all that. The vagus nerve is a big part of the parasympathetic nervous system. It's attached to the lungs. By breathing slowly, gently, easily, deeply, stimulate the vagus nerve, therefore activate the parasympathetic. How easy is this? You've been given everything you need to regulate your nervous system. So breathe, deep breathing, move, maybe pull your shoulders back. Notice how you're sitting in the chair if you're standing or you're sitting in the car listening to this. Notice how you're saying. Of course, if you're in the car, don't be doing this. Or pull over to the road. Make sure you're safe, or don't like if you're watching the kids around the
Yeah.
swimming pool, don't close your eyes or anything. But be safe about this. But if you're in a safe place and you
Okay.
can around this exercise, you know, breathe in deeply, close your eyes, and then we're going to do some bilateral stimulation. And that's, bilateral is the two different sides of the body.
So is
When
this
you're
two? So
yeah,
three
yeah,
is to
this yeah,
breathe.
those is two. So three deep
Two.
breaths. Two is we're in
Okay. Two.
we're going to do
Yep.
bilateral stimulation. And when you're feeling anxious and afraid and angry, you're lighting up a part of the right side of the brain. So it's sucking up all the nutrients and the blood supply and oxygen to light it up and get you into that stressful state. Well, that means these other parts of the brain go quiet because all the energy is being sucked away from it, vacuumed away. So, but just by moving your body, you can start operating these different parts of the brain and it sucks it back again because you
Okay.
have to. I'm moving my arms back and forth. You're just listening. I have a little squeezy ball and I'm making my arms a T like across and then passing the ball
I
right
got
in
my
front of my
cell phone.
sternum.
I got my
Yeah,
cell phone.
yeah. Careful of your cell phone or a glass
Everybody's got a cell phone.
because
Everybody's
if
got
you drop it, you're going to be bummed. You're going to be bummed if you so find something that's not so breakable. But
Okay.
bilateral stimulation is that the right side of the brain is controlling the left side of the body, left side of the brain is controlling the right side of the body. So when you
Oh,
move
good.
two
Yep.
sides of the body, you start creating you know, operating in both hemispheres of the brain, lighting up. Again, it needs oxygen fuel to do that, blood supply. And so it's pulling it away from the anxiety. Your anxiety levels go down. If you remember, like in a meeting or back in school, somebody was drumming on their knees, going bup, 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 bup,
Yep.
bup.
Yep.
That's binaural stimulation. They're nervous. They don't
Okay.
they don't know they're self-soothing themselves. They're doing it because it feels good. Bilateral stimulation, walking, left foot, right foot, left foot, riding a
Okay.
bicycle. Full forms of bilateral stimulation. What we're going to do is grab our shoulders. And so grabbing your shoulders, making that X on your chest. Obviously, this is a hug. You're hugging yourself. This is loving, nurturing, healing touch. And you can like squeeze your shoulders because there's your biostimulation. You give yourself a bear hug. You do the havening technique, which is rubbing your part of it. The havening technique is rubbing your arms up and down your head, whatever feels best to you. Any variation of that, or come up with your own way of feeling this deep hug. But again, healing, nurturing, loving touch. Remember the burning your hand on the pot, the signal went back to your brain. You're now sending a signal up to your brain of loving, healing, nurturing touch. Your brain, if somebody was feeling anxiety, the brain would now start creating the hormone GABA to dissipate all the adrenaline and cortisol. So the brain now starts creating oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine. And while you're hugging yourself,
Okay.
think of somebody you want to give a hug to. It could be a good friend, it could be a family member. If you have a dog, if you have a cat, if maybe somebody who's no longer with us, your grandmother, your grandfather, somebody you've never met before, Mother Teresa, Joan of Arc, Mahatma Gandhi, Paul McCartney, I don't know, Taylor Swift. It doesn't matter. The mind,
Yeah.
the mind can't tell the difference between what's real and what's imagined, right? And just like the nightmare, you can literally change your physiology through thought alone. So imagine hugging, and you have the extra added benefit of the actual physical touch. So you have the somatic healing therapy of this hug. It's sending the signals up to your brain, and your imagination is thinking of somebody you want to give a hug to. Your brain is now creating all that oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, flooding your brain with those neuropeptides of love, joy, and happiness into your bloodstream. 5 minutes is all that takes, and
Fascinating.
you'll hack your brain. You'll
Okay.
um, literally change the chemistry in your brain and reset your nervous system in about 5 minutes. Do it for half an hour if
So
you like, but if
so
you only have
so
five
what
minutes, great.
so the three was the breaths.
Three is breath,
Two
two, hug yourself, and then
was a
think of
hug.
one person you'd like to hug.
And one person you'd like to hug. Wow.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
here's the thing with this. This is what we were talking about earlier. I'm like, in the morning, find something to do. This is a great exercise to do in the morning. Because
Yeah.
imagine flooding your brain with that oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine. Now that 200 bits of information, what are you focusing on? You're focused on bringing more good stuff into your life. Now there are challenges. Things don't go well sometimes, or
Of course.
get goofed up, like me trying to get to this interview this morning, and the jackhammering
Yeah.
started about half an hour. I'm like, I get to my
Right.
office. I got to my office. I forgot my laptop. I had to run back home. I was like a few minutes late. It
Or my
was,
son-in-law who just popped his Achilles tendon last night. It
yeah,
happens.
yeah, it
Yeah.
happens. So reset yourself. It's 3, 2, 1 reset, not 3, 2, 1 do it once, and your life is rainbows and unicorns all the time. Reset yourself
Keep
over
doing
and
it.
over and over
Keep
again.
doing
What
it.
what you practice, you get better at. What is strongest within your mind is what you do over and over again. So, what do you just ask yourself right now? What are you practicing? Just feel it in your body. You know what you're practicing. Are you practicing anxiety, fear, and anger? Or are you practicing love, joy, and happiness?
Oh,
The
oh,
Dalai Lama still meditates every day. The man's turning, I mean, as we record this, he's turning 90 in a today or tomorrow or something. Man's 90 years old and he's still meditating every day. If anybody was to have it down by now, you think it'd be the Dalai Lama. But
yeah,
and read his books. The Dalai Lama talks about the anger and the sorrow and despair of what's going on in Tibet. The man's 90. He's not going back. He was exiled out of Tibet in what, 1957 or something? They're still arresting his monks and torturing his monks and you know, bulldozing down his monasteries to build highways and train tracks and all that kind of stuff. That's got to cause great anger and despair and
yeah,
sorrow and grief. He's a human being. Of course he is going to feel like that, but he doesn't want that to be who he is. He doesn't want that to be his essence. He's
right.
going to feel it because he's a human being, but he doesn't want that to be who he is. So every day he practices loving kindness and compassion meditation. That's his work. That's what he does. At
So,
90, still doing it. And he doesn't have a lot of the challenges the rest of he's not married. He doesn't have any
right.
kids. You don't have to worry about taxes with a small business and all the stuff that's and he has a staff of people to meet his every need and want. Yet he's still there doing the work. You know.
You know, Craig, this has been absolutely incredible, fascinating, incredible, amazing.
Yeah.
And again, one thing I'd like to challenge my audience with is to do the 3, 2, 1 reset.
Yeah.
Do the breathing, hug yourself, imagine that one person you're hugging, and then find yourself in that feeling after doing that for a few minutes.
Mhm.
And then suddenly think about something stressful.
Yeah.
I just did. I just did when after we did it and you said then you just think about stress. And I just went back into stress. It was just weird, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden I just had an instant different state.
Yeah.
And so, when you say it, to a certain extent, a big extent, it's what you focus on. Um, Folks, try it. Try it.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, Craig, this conversation has probably been the most consequential conversation in my life.
Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you.
And because you shared this with us in ways and examples that not only could we understand, but we could participate with and do something with without having to call you, without having to schedule an appointment, without having to, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you've given us all major gifts. Moving forward,
Mm.
if people, okay, first of all, folks, try some of the things that Craig is
Yes.
talking about,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Do it. Just
Yeah.
do it. And Craig, if folks want to learn more, if folks want to reach you, where do they go?
Well, I live in Flagstaff, Arizona.
Uh-huh.
As we were talking about before, Arizona Integrative Hypnotherapy is a mouthful and hard to spell. I wasn't thinking too well when I came up with that name and bought the URL. But if you just go to Google and type in Flagstaff Hypnosis, you'll see me come up in the map, and on the search engine, it'll just say Arizona Integrative Hypnotherapy, and that's me. And happy to talk with you over the phone. And I do sessions mostly over Zoom now, and
Okay.
it works really well because again, I'm not doing
Wonderful.
anything to you. This isn't a massage. You're doing the work, and a lot of people feel comfortable, relaxed, and they feel safe in their homes. And research shows that not only do Zoom sessions work as well as in person, whether it's a talk therapy, counseling, coaching, doctor's appointment, hypnotherapy, Zoom sessions work as well as in-person, and they might work a little bit better because people feel safe in their homes. And this has allowed me to work with people around the country, around the
Around the
world.
world. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not again, not to ding my bell or pat myself on the back, but just to show the power of this. Recently, I've been working with a basketball player,
Okay, we got 30 seconds.
professional basketball player in Iceland, and it's just like, he's in the European League, and so you can be anywhere as long as you have great.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Um, the man's name is Craig Meriwether, and go to Google, check it out. He's in Flagstaff. Craig, thank you.
yeah,
Thank
you're
you
welcome.
so much for joining us. Thank you for sharing so much. I love you. God bless you.
Oh, thank you,
Um,
John.
everybody out there, check it out and
Yeah,
share this.
yeah.
Share this. This is going to help so many people. Please share it. Pass it on. I love you. God bless you. Thank you for
Thank you,
joining us.
John.
Yeah, y'all, we'll see you next time. Bye.